गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय प्रहलाद नृसिंह जय प्रहलाद नृसिंह जय प्रहलाद नृसिंह जय प्रहलाद नृसिंह जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की कौन फाउंडर आचार्य एवरीबडी फाउंडर आचार्य सेवर द होल वर्ल्ड श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई की जमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की समावित गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna. This morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, canto number 3, chapter number 26, text 34. Bhūtānāṁ chidra-dātṛtvaṁ bahir-antaram ca prāṇendriyātma-dhiṣṇyatvaṁ nabhaso vṛtti-lakṣaṇam bhūtānāṁ chidra-dātṛtvam bahir-antaram ca prāṇendriyātma-dhiṣṇyatvaṁ nabhaso vṛtti-lakṣaṇam bhūtānāṁ chidra-dātṛtvam bahir-antaram ca prāṇendriyātma-dhiṣṇyatvaṁ nabhaso vṛtti-lakṣaṇam. 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 Matajis. Bhūtānāṁ chidra-dātṛtvam bahir-antaram ca prāṇendriyātma-dhiṣṇyatvaṁ nabhaso vṛtti-lakṣaṇam. Word for meaning. Bhūtānāṁ, of all living entities. Chidra-dātṛtvam, the accommodation of room. Bahiḥ, external. Antaram, internal. Eva, also. Cha, and. Prāṇa, of the vital air. Indriya, the senses. Ātma, and the mind. Dhiṣṇyatvam, being the field of activities. Nabhasaḥ, of the ethereal element. Vṛtti, activities. Lakṣaṇam, characteristics. Translation purport. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The activities and characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as accommodation for the room for the external and internal existences of all living entities, namely the field of activities of the vital air, the senses, and the mind. Purport. The mind, the senses, and the vital force or living entity have forms, although they are not visible to the naked eyes. Form rests in subtle existence in the sky, and internally it is perceived as the veins within the body and the circulation of the vital air. Externally, there are invisible forms of sense objects. The production of the invisible sense objects is the external activity of the ethereal element, and the circulation of vital air and blood is its internal activity. That subtle forms exist in the ether has been proven by the modern science by transmission of television, by which forms or photographs of one place are transmitted to another place by the action of the ethereal element. That is very nicely explained here. This verse is the potential basis of great scientific research work, for it explains how the subtle forms are generated from the ethereal element, what their characteristics and actions are, and how the tangible elements, namely air, fire, water, and earth, are manifested from the subtle form. Mental activities or psychological actions of thinking, feeling, and willing are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. The statement in Bhagavad Gita that the mental situation at the time of death is the basis of the next birth is also corroborated in this verse. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity due to contamination or development of the gross elements from the subtle form. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Vashivanave Deve Daitaye Kripabde Krishna Sambandha Vijnanadayine Prabhave Namaha Madhurya Ujjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambar Sambodhe Padambojayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gaura Avirbhava Bhumestum Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpitarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Panchatattva-atmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Jayatam Sarata Upangor Mamamanda Matirgati Mat Sarvasya Padam Bhojau Radha Madana Mohano Vindaranykalpadramada Srimad Ratnagar Simhasanastau Srimad Radha Srila Govindadevo Prasthalevi Sevimano Smarami Sriman Rasarsarambevam Shivata Tatastita Karshan Venu Svaner Gopir Gopinatha Shriyastunah Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We seek blessings of all the devotees here to be able to speak something on Srimad Bhagavatam, the Amal Purana, which is very dear to Vaishnavas as Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam, so that we can speak something worthwhile, something for self-purification. So Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear, and all the more it has become more sweet when given by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, and it has become even more sweet when given by Prabhupada. Because these books, Prabhupada twice mentioned, Srila Prabhupada mentions that these books are not written by me. Prabhupada said that Krishna personally comes and dictates, and then I just write. Once, I remember roughly, His Grace Rameshwara Prabhu, and Prabhupada was at the airport, so many devotees, and press reporter asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, how did you write all these books just in a short span? And Prabhupada said that I have not written, Krishna has written. And it was a new reporter, fresh, no idea about who is Krishna, what is culture of India. And Prabhupada says Krishna has written. And the reporter asked, but Swamiji, how did you still write? And Prabhupada said, I told you already, Krishna has written this, I have not written these books. And then Rameshwar Prabhu was standing next, and he was trying to, his words, he says, I was trying to cushion the explanation of Prabhupada to the reporter so that she can understand properly. And Prabhupada says, no, when I say Krishna has written means every night when I sit with the dictaphone, Krishna personally comes, he speaks, and I just put it in a paper or I just record it. So these are words of Krishna personally. Another time, His Grace Brahmanand Prabhu mentions this. Once, Srila Prabhupada told Brahmanand Prabhu that actually I never wanted to come to the material world. But Krishna was pushing me, Krishna was insisting me that you go. And Prabhupada says, no, I don't want to go. But then Krishna was still pushing, and when I did not agree, then Krishna told, okay, you just go and write these books and come back. I will take care of everything. So these are not the ordinary books, these are words of Krishna himself. And that is why they are creating revolution over the planet. And this particular section, third canto, Kapila Devahuti Samvad, Lord Kapila gives instructions of various subject matters. The last chapter was Glories of the Devotional Service, and in this chapter, fundamental principles of material nature are mentioned. It is very technical, and but when we hear about the opulence of Krishna, the greatness of Krishna, naturally we become more inclined to Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that Tat Shrinu. Krishna says to Arjuna that now hear about me, I will tell you, so that you can develop more attraction towards me. Naturally, when we hear about some great person, then we develop some attraction for that person. Similarly, when we hear about Krishna, Krishna's material nature, all these things, Srishti Leela, greatness, then our appreciation for Krishna increases more and more. Of course, the goal is to go to Raganuga Bhakti, not Aishwarya Bhakti, Aishwarya Yukta Prem. Keval Prem is the goal. But to go to that level also, first we should understand that Krishna is God. And that is why deity worship, Srila Prabhupada mentions that though we are worshipping Radha Krishna, but they accept our seva in the form of Lakshmi Narayan. Because first that has to be established that Krishna is not material like us, all of us. So that is why these descriptions are very important about the fundamental principles of material nature, creation, though it is very technical to understand. So here Prabhupada mentions 35, many things are mentioned. The activities and the characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as accommodation for the room for the external and internal existence of all living entities, namely the field of activities of the vital air and the senses and the mind. So ether, Prabhupada has mentioned or emphasized mainly about the ether. Ether in modern context is considered as a kind of a space. It's generally considered sky, or it's not considered much important. But ether has this importance. Ether actually, as given here, Prabhupada says, forms rests in the subtle existence in the sky, and internally it is perceived as the veins within the body and the circulation of the vital air. Sometimes ether is also known as sky, yathākāsha sthito. So there also it's mentioned, just like air blows within the sky. So sometimes it is known as ether, sometimes it is known as sky. Sky accommodates the subtle forms which are not tangible. And I was reading Prabhupada's lecture on this topic. Prabhupada has not touched much in the technical part. So it is very subtle, we cannot tangibly see. And it is based on the basis of this subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego, that we get the next body. So from scientific viewpoint, tangibly we cannot understand or see that the person dies and then he gets the next body. But we understand even in this life, Prabhupada gives example of dream. When we dream, because the gross body is not active, that does not mean that the soul is not active. The soul is still active, and it uses the subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego. And we have various atmosphere, different atmosphere, where we dream, we become king, sometimes we roam around, sometimes tiger is running behind us. So that is all functioning happening through the subtle body, mind, intelligence and false ego. So even in this life right now we can understand that those subtle things are not visible but still exist, not tangible but still exist. And similarly, Prabhupada says, just like in this current life, we change body from this gross body and go to some other atmosphere with the help of subtle body. Similarly, at the time of death, based on the consciousness one has at the time of death, one takes the next body. Prabhupada gives example of the caterpillar. That caterpillar keeps thinking about the butterfly and eventually turns into a butterfly. Or another example Prabhupada gives, just like we want to travel somewhere, then we think about it, we make plan, we do some survey. Okay, we want to go to Vrindavan, let's say. Then we survey which are the hotels nearby, which are places to stay proper. We check availability. Then we book the rooms, and we also book the tickets, make travel arrangement, and then we finally leave this place and go to Vrindavan. Similarly, Prabhupada says, when we leave this body, it is not that all of a sudden we leave this body. First we make arrangement of the next body. So every action we do develops our consciousness, and based on that we are putting a small installment of formation of the next body right now. Every time we attend Mangalarti, Guru Puja, honor prasadam, serve prasadam, do some seva, distribute books, do Harinam Sankirtan, every installment, every activity we do adds an installment for formation of the next body, because that develops our consciousness. So that is why Prabhupada gave the whole lecture on this last line. The statement in the Bhagavad Gita that the mental situation at the time of death is the basis of the next birth is also corroborated in this verse. Mental existence transforms into tangible form as soon as there is an opportunity due to contamination or development of the gross elements from subtle form. As Krishna says in 15th chapter, Shariram yat avapnoti yacchapi utkaramati hritvaitani samyadi vayurgandan ivashayad. Krishna says, just like the air carries the fragrance, vayurgandan ivashayat. Similarly, the subtle body carries the soul from one body to another based on the consciousness at the time of death. And then another place Krishna says, not that one. Yanti deva vṛtta-devan pitrin yanti pitrivtan bhūtāni yanti bhūtejya yanti madhyajinopinam. According to the worship one does, he goes to the next body, next planet, yanti deva vṛtta-devan. And that is why Prabhupada says that we have started this Krishna conscious movement so that we can train people that next destination should be auspicious. Now people have some idea outside that the body is not permanent, it is temporary material, it will be destroyed, we have to get a next body, and some auspicious destinations, people prepare it. Some come, of course, some are completely blank about it. Even after knowing Krishna, about spirituality, some come to the spiritual path, but they may not be so fortunate to get connected to Krishna consciousness. And then they have their sincere efforts. It's just like yogis, jnanis, they try and they have sincere efforts. They are putting their best effort. They are committed. But they don't, they cannot so easily perform their practice, and their destination also is not so assured. I remember when we went to Kumbh Mela, Mahakumbh Mela. So anybody has been to Kumbh Mela? Okay, we must go. Prabhupada said that it is not for taking bath, but for spreading, giving bath to people in Harinam and books, Vedic literature. So Prabhupada attended Kumbh Mela twice, 71 and 77. When we went that there are so many akhadas, so many camps, and there are so many sadhus. There are some sadhus completely smeared with the ashes, and then they are performing tapasya. There is one sadhu, he was lying on the bed of thorns, wires, nails. There was one person who had since last 20 years, he had his hand up in the air. And very difficult. And there was one sadhu, he had red hot coal around him, and he was sitting in the midst, and hot sun from the sky. There was all around fire, and he was sweating. He was just sitting there, so tolerating. Maybe for getting fame, but some of them really have the sincere desire to attain transcendence. But somehow not getting connected to that bona fide path, they are not able to so easily do it. Similarly, jnanis, they make their efforts to study literatures, but then they don't get the bliss, and then they come back. Arihuri Christian, that Shloka Prabhupada says. So our fortune is that we got connected to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave us so easy process. It's like kleshodikatarastesham avyaktasaktachetasam avyaktahi gatir-dukkam dehavadbhir avapyate. Though they try, but their path is very, very difficult. It is filled with pain and misery. But it's our fortune that Srila Prabhupada has given us a so easy way by which we can think of Krishna at the time of death, if we practice properly, if we do it sincerely. Otherwise, Purusha praktisto hi bhunkte praktijan gunan karanam gunasangosya sad asad yoni janmashu. Based on the contamination of the material nature, contamination or development of the gross elements from the subtle form, we get the next body. Karanam gunasangosya sad asad yoni janmashu. We keep taking so many bodies, which may not be auspicious. So how to train our consciousness, that Prabhupada has explained. In case of jnanis or yogis, even though they try their best, they are very strict, but the path is not very, very safe. That is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipashyatah indriyāni pramātheni haranti prasabam manah. So, though one may be very strongly trying, ardently trying, yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipashyatah. He knows everything, he is trying his best, but still senses are very powerful. That is why Krishna gives solution in the next shloka. So, how to focus mind? By serving Krishna. That is why Krishna says, Atani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtita. Tani sarvani samyamya. All senses are to be engaged in the service of Krishna. Because when we act in a certain way, then full consciousness is in that activity. It cannot go here and there. We are fully thinking about details of that activity. The mind cannot go here and there. While in case of the yogi or jnani, one has to artificially make efforts. Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. In case of yogis or jnanis, they have to make efforts and the path is not still safe. Just like the yogis, they try to focus, jnanis, they try to study. But they need some object for meditation. If that object of meditation is not there, then they have to land up somewhere in the material field, material realm. But in our case, Prabhupada has given us so many engagements, so many sevas. And with that, even in this world, we can attain that stage. And we have examples of great acharyas like Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So Krishna conscious, he was so Krishna conscious, he would connect everything to Krishna. Like once somebody was talking about the political discussion, the government is not doing well. And Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, so what did you say? Govardhan. So it connect everything to Krishna. Connects to Govardhan. Similarly, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, the mighty Acharya of Prabhupada's army. Maharaj was once taking a walk. I heard this from His Grace Atul Krishna Prabhu. Maharaj was taking a walk and there were so many passerbys. they were saying good day, good day. But in that particular locality, they speak very fast and say good day, good day. And Maharaj says, oh, Gadai, he's talking name of Gadadhar Pandit, Gadai. Then he starts saying Gadai. So that is how they can connect to Krishna. Everything. Another example, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, brilliant. Prabhupada could connect everything to Krishna, engage everything in Krishna's service. This is from Swamiji book by His Grace Brahmananda Prabhu. So once Prabhupada was thinking of having Jagannath deity. And then Prabhupada was thinking that how should we have long-lasting deity? And they were walking, they came across a shop which was selling graveyard stones. There is graveyard and then there are stones on that. They are decoration and so expensive. They have package also. That okay, such and such stones, gold embossing, etc. So Prabhupada saw this, and then Prabhupada, when he came back to temple, Prabhupada drew a sketch. And Prabhupada told Brahmanand Prabhu, go to this seller and tell him that carve Jagannath out of graveyard stone. So that is Prabhupada, he could engage everything in Krishna's service. So when one becomes Krishna conscious, then he can connect everything to Krishna and engage everything in service of Krishna. And in that way, we can think of Krishna at the time of our lifespan, and even at the end of that, we can think about Krishna. Then it's easily yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyachityante kalevaram tam tamayevaiti kaunteya sada tat bhava bhavitah. Whatever we think at the time of death, we attain the next body. Tad bhava bhavitah. Bhav, getting that bhav. And then Prabhupada explains that this whole Krishna conscious movement is established to train people, to help people train their mind to think about Krishna at the time of death. That is why International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It is all about consciousness. So, at one level there are eternally liberated devotees, those who are Nitya Sangha, Nitya Parshad of Krishna, and they just cannot not think about Krishna. Just like gopis of Vrindavan, they would just keep talking about Krishna. And in the Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, last chapter it's mentioned, 26th chapter, that the gopis talking about themselves say that what is the effect of Krishna's flute? It is so enchanting, that once Krishna's flute's sound enters the ear, it makes nest in the ear and it does not leave. It's like a bird which enters the ears and it just stays there, does not leave the ears. And all the more, it does not allow anything else to enter the ear. So that charming is the flute sound of Krishna. And then Prabhupada says that sound, flute sound of Krishna actually is Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, at one level for yogis and jnanis, it is very difficult to think about Krishna. But for devotees, it is so easy. And when we get the perception, when we get attracted to the personal form of Krishna, it's so easy, it is so impelling that we cannot not get attracted to Krishna. Krishna is, in that shloka, Tani Sarvani Samyamya, Bhagavad Gita 2.61. Prabhupada says in purport that, I'll read out exactly. Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is such a transcendently nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. It is as if a hungry man had satisfied his hunger by a sufficient quantity of nutritious eatables. Maharaj Ambrisha also conquered a great yogi Durvasa Muni simply because his mind was engaged in Krishna consciousness. 2.16. So Krishna consciousness is so attractive that one cannot not think of Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Krishna Varnam Tasa Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagner Sankirtanam Prayar Yajantehi Sumedasah. So Mahaprabhu's weapon, Sango Pangastra, Astra is mentioned as his beauty. Is so enchanting, Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was at the Godavari river, Kovuru, the meeting place of Sripad Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting at the banks of Godavari river, and Ramananda Rai comes, the governor of Madras, and Mahaprabhu was feeling so helpless to go and meet Ramananda Rai. But then he thought that being a sannyasi, if I go and meet the governor, what will people think about it? So he restrained himself. And then after some time, Ramananda Rai, he came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, paid obeisances, and they are eternal associates. Ramananda Raya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they embraced each other, they had tears in their eyes, both started discussing Krishna Katha in ecstasy. And Ramananda Raya was escorted by 1,000 Brahmanas. And as soon as this, Ramananda Raya is the eternal associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but these 1,000 Brahmanas, they did not know who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But just by looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they had tears in their eyes and their bodies started shivering. Just by looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's the beauty. And then Ramananda Raya immediately quotes a shloka. He says that Sata Surya Samakanti Aruna Vasana and Suvalita Bahu Jeno Kamalanayana. The effulgence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is equivalent to the effulgence of 100 suns. Sata Surya Samakanti. And his eyes are like lotus petals. And the color, saffron color, and his body is very well built, strongly built. Ajanital Lambita Bhujau Karunavadato. So his hands are extended till knee. And just looking at the beauty, all the 1,000 Brahmanas, they had tears in the eyes, they had shivering in the body, they were in ecstasy. Just by looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was the weapon of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Astra. Another example is Prakashanand Saraswati. When Mahaprabhu went to Varanasi, then Prakashanand Saraswati was leading so many of his sannyasi disciples, and there was discussion. One day that Maharashtrian Brahmana came to request Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, my Lord, all these sannyasis Mayavadis are criticizing you. We are not able to tolerate this. You please do something about this. Please liberate them. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not interested in meeting Mayavadis. But Mahaprabhu felt that because my devotees are pained, so to mitigate the pain of my devotees, he decided that I will go and liberate them. And then that devotee, Maharashtrian Brahmana, had the plan. He had already invited all the sannyasis to his home for prasadam, nimantrana. And then he comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu knew the whole thing. He knew the mind of South Indian Brahmana. And then Mahaprabhu also agreed. He also came. And everybody was sitting. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he just entered and washed his lotus feet. And he just sat there where everybody washes their feet. And all the sannyasis, Mayavadis, they were feeling very, very, very embarrassed because Mahaprabhu offered obeisances to all of them. They felt very embarrassed. And looking at the effulgence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they all were astonished. And they were transformed. And then Prakashanand Saraswati came forward. He held Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his hand and escorted him and brought him in the center at the leading place. And this seva, Prabhupada says, the Ajnat Sukriti. Prakashanand Saraswati received some Ajnata Sukriti, because of which he became qualified for receiving the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu's beauty is so enchanting. Mahaprabhu's kirtan is so enchanting. Krishna's flute is so enchanting. Nam, Guna, Rupa, Leela. Everything Krishna is so enchanting. We just cannot not think about Krishna. We cannot not think or glorify Krishna. It is so amazing. Everything about Krishna is so amazing. That's why Prabhupada says Krishna consciousness is transcendentally such a transcendently nice thing that automatically material enjoyment becomes distasteful. So when one gets that taste, when one gets that mercy, kripa kataksha, just like Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says that Sridasha Akasha Pushpayati, how that shloka starts? Kaivalyam narkayati tridashapur akasa pushpayate durdantendriya kala sarpapatali prāṇadam strayate. What happens? Kaivalya narkayate, the liberation becomes hellish experience for a devotee. Kaivalyam narkayate tridashapur akasha pushpayate. And tridashapur, it's something like phantasmagoria. Tridashapur, all the heavenly planets, etc., becomes like phantasmagoria. Prāṇadam strayate. The senses become inert, just like the serpent without any poisonous fangs, without poisonous teeth. No effect. So similarly, senses also become very inert. Prāṇadam strayate. Durdāntrendriya kala sarpapati. Prāṇadam strayate. Vishwampurna sukhayate. The whole world becomes very blissful for him. Yat karunye kataksha vaibhavatam tam gaura evastumaha. I offer my obeisance to that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy glance all these things happen. A devotee thinks that liberation has no place. It's very tuchha. devotee is not attracted. And that is why even the self-satisfied people get attracted to Krishna. Ātma ramasya munayo nirgrantha api urukramaha kurvanti ahitukim bhakti ittam bhuto guna harihi. So even self-satisfied, liberated people also get attracted to Krishna. That attractive is Krishna. We just have to become recipient. We just have to become ready for accepting. Krishna is himself coming. Tyaktva sudustija surapshitarajya lakshmim. Mahaprabhu has come giving up everything, and dharmishta are vachasa yat agar aranyam maya mrigam daitam epsitam anvadhavat. Mahaprabhu is running behind those living entities who are running behind the maya mrig, behind the material energy. And Mahaprabhu is running behind us. Similarly, his followers are running behind the conditioned souls. So when we just allow ourselves to act Krishna upon us, or to allow devotees to act upon us, then we so much get attracted to Krishna. And Prabhupada says that consciousness of Krishna, thinking of Krishna in day-to-day life can happen if we engage in services, practical services. So if somebody is, let's say, organizing a program, then he cannot think about anything else because he has pressure in the mind. And there is a responsibility. Just like Prabhupada was in Juhu, Radha Ras Bihari Ji Mandir, and His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, the temple was not yet ready. And so much anxiety, so much tension, Tamal Krishna Maharaj came to Prabhupada and says, Prabhupada, I am not able to chant my rounds properly even. I quit. And Prabhupada also said that, I am also not able to chant my rounds. I also quit. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, then they had almost 1 minute silence. And being in loneliness with Prabhupada in silence, it is as if, many Prabhupada disciples explain, it is as if the time froze. And Yuga Itam Nimeshana, each moment appears to be like, and Prabhupada can be inside out for eternity. All this experience we hear from many Prabhupada's disciples. Then Prabhupada says, after some time, Prabhupada says, but that anxiety for Krishna will take you back to Godhead. Just like Mother Yashoda purchased anxiety for Krishna. So that is our goal. Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is not armchair speculation. Spirituality is not armchair speculation. It is practical activity. When we engage ourselves in the seva, then all these things automatically become so easy. So in that another shloka, Prabhupada writes that samadhi. Samadhi means a devotee may be engaged in, sometimes the devotee goes out and purchases vegetables from the market, sometimes he is cleaning the floor, sometimes he is washing the pots, sometimes he is managing. But this is samadhi, Prabhupada says. Very practical things. And Krishna, that is why Krishna consciousness becomes very practical and becomes susukam kartum avyayam, joyfully performed. And Prabhupada says then joyfully performed when one becomes engaged in sharing this knowledge with others, then he feels more bliss. It becomes more blissful. And that is why Prabhupada emphasized so much on preaching. Preaching is the essence, so much preaching. And the core activities, though there are various ways by which we share Krishna consciousness with the living entities, but the core is Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, Prasadam distribution, which Prabhupada emphasized so much upon. So, and especially when we are in book distribution, so many experiences come and we can see Krishna's hand in our life practically. We are Krishna conscious. Sometimes we are distributing books. Books don't go. And then we come to our level and then we think about Krishna. Krishna, please help me. Use me as an instrument. And then Krishna does some magic. And how sometimes answers come in our mind, we don't know. And then we clearly perceive that Krishna gave this answer. So I heard from one devotee, his Grace Braja Bihari Prabhu in Vrindavan. He said when they would go for book distribution on the airports, sometimes the businessmen who were very proud, very cunning, materialists, they would sometimes come face to face as if they are going to talk, but they hit the suitcase in the knee. Devotees are standing and the person comes and hits the suitcase in the knee. So once like this, one devotee was distributing books and one person came like this. He came right till the devotee and then he hit the suitcase in the knee like this. And he kind of very angrily said that get a job, do something practical, get a job. And how Krishna gives intelligence? The devotee says, get a brain. And the person says, I have one. And the devotee says, use it. So how Krishna gives intelligence? Many of us, all of us have experienced that how that answer could not come from my intelligence. Krishna does it. Another time, it was a very popular story. Devotees were distributing books in Sankirtan bus party and they stationed at a particular place. And they were all sleeping in the Sankirtan van. At dead of night, the police van came and the siren rang. Police came, the torch, and then they called everybody out, come out, get out. Devotees came out, they were all sleeping in gamcha and then smearing their eyes half asleep. They came out and then police said, hands up. So devotees put their hands up. And then the police asked them, what are you doing here? And the devotee says, we are distributing love of God. How Krishna gives it? He's half asleep and he says that we are distributing love of God. And the police asks, prove it. So devotee goes inside, brings a Bhagavad Gita and gives him the love of God. So he looked at Bhagavad Gita and then he opened, as he opened there was a photo of Prabhupada. And then the police said, the leading police, oh, Swami Prabhupada, fine, give me a Bhagavad Gita. He took a Bhagavad Gita, gave a donation. Not only that, he told all his subordinates, everyone go ahead, take a book and give a donation, good donation. So it happened like this, and devotees distributed 10, 12 Bhagavad Gitas. And later on, the devotees asked police that, how do you know about Prabhupada and ISKCON? He says, when I was studying in the college, those days devotees would come and distribute prasadam. So I was just going for prasadam, and that's how I know about Prabhupada. That ISKCON people are doing good activity. And then he said that actually there was murder last night at this spot. That is why we were checking everything, that things are proper. So that is how Krishna gives intelligence, how to speak, what to speak, when to speak. Another time devotees were distributing books and the Sankirtan van toppled and it went at a very risky spot. And all the devotees came out somehow, they were all bleeding. All the passers-by, they all stopped. And they were curious and feeling sympathy for devotees, how can we help them? They all gathered, at least 50, 100 people gathered, and they were asking, and the devotees also had expression. So they asked that, how can we help you? And the devotees got an opportunity. They said, if you can help us by taking Bhagavad Gita. So that time they had this consciousness, one shot 100 Gitas distributed. So that is how when we depend on Krishna, when we engage in the activities given by Krishna, especially prescribed and instructed by the Acharya and through spiritual master, through Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas, when we sincerely, consistently try to do that activity, then Krishna gives us realization. So, especially Sankirtan, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu says that Sankirtan is high sadhana. It's high sadhana. And so one devotee was asked that, have you seen God? And devotee said, we have not seen God, but we have seen God's hand in our life every day. Another devotee was asked, do you believe in miracles? And the devotee said, we don't believe in miracles, we live with miracles every day. So it happens how Krishna does miracle in our life. But and for getting that miracle, for seeing that miracle, Krishna will help us. But He will almost push us till the edge, as if we are almost collapsing. And then He will immediately rescue us. But we have to put ourselves in the thrilling situation, in that risky situation, adventurous situation. Then Krishna will help. So, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu says that he quotes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, says that we want to progress in Krishna consciousness, then we need spiritual blood. Just like for material nourishment, we need good blood. Similarly, for progress in Krishna consciousness, for becoming strong in Krishna consciousness, we need blood. And spiritual blood, that is called chidra-dātṛtvam. And how is that chidra-dātṛtvam developed? When we, on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, when we go out and talk to people for sharing Krishna consciousness, and in that activity when we are ignored, abused and neglected, that is how the chidra-dātṛtvam is developed. So, as much we do more, Mahaprabhu says, Jare dekha tarikaha Krishna upadesh. Whomever we see, we should try. And one may not see that, one should not feel that I am not qualified. Anybody can just take a mantra card and give it to somebody. Anybody can take a book and give it to somebody. And there are people waiting outside. There are people, the world today is suffering because of loneliness. As they say that being all alone, lonely at the apex of pyramid. They have become so successful sometimes, so much money, but they don't have anybody to share their sorrow or joy with. And they are looking for friends. Once a devotee asked, email to His Holiness, Giriraj Maharaj, Maharaj, you were in Juhu, pioneer making life members and fundraising. Can you help us can you guide us in fundraising? And Maharaj replied that don't think of fundraising, but do friend raising. If you raise friends, they'll automatically give their life and heart. So people are looking for friends. If we just become their friend in a spiritual way, give them a book, give them a mantra card, give them prasad, invite to the programs. Online, so much opportunity these days. If we do that, and yes, in that activities, we will get rejected sometime, we will get discouraged. But having this hope that we are just developing our spiritual muscles, spiritual blood, chitrat, then we will become Krishna conscious. And towards the end, we will remember Krishna at the time of death. And even if we cannot remember, if we are in some seva and we cannot remember, then it is mentioned in Varaha Purana that even if the devotee, because of some mental imbalance, because of pain, vatadi, dukkha vatadi, there is shloka like this. Even if the devotee cannot remember me, but still I give my remembrance to the devotee and then I take him back. So Krishna guarantees this. He takes devotee back. So it is all about consciousness. And when we right now engage ourselves, even mechanically keep doing something with a good intention, then at one point of time we reach the level where things become practical. Something like that Brahmana who was cooking, he just heard that we can do manas puja of the Lord. He did not have much resources for serving the Lord, but he heard that we can do mental seva. So he was just meditating every day. He would get best of the milk, A2 milk, and just like Krishna was offered the milk with fragrant milk, Padmagandha cow. So he would get the best quality milk and then get best quality of rice, boil them together, best quality of sugar. I don't know, sugar was not there, some sweetening ingredient. And camphor, he would add saffron in it. He would get the best quality of golden pot, carved pot, and offer that kheer to the Lord. Every day he would offer that mentally. And one day, when he became so perfect in his meditation, and one day he was just meditating like this, and he was thinking that the sweet rice should be offered cold. So let me check if it is hot or cold. So as he put his finger inside the sweet rice, immediately pulled out, and he has burning sensation. And when he opened his eyes, his finger was burned. Though he was doing it in meditation, but practically that happened. Krishna practically took that kheer. And then Lakshmi just smiled, and immediately the Garuda Vahan came and Vaikuntha plane took him back to Godhead. So that is how, when we keep doing that activity repeatedly, at the time of death, we will remember Krishna, or Krishna will give us remembrance. Another was so many examples. There was that viral video in May 2024, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj worshipping the Lord in the sleep. So I heard from Maharaj's secretary that it was not once, it was many times it happened. And many times videos were recorded. But it was kept confidential. So many examples like this. We can keep doing it every day. Same sadhana, and at the time of death, we'll just do it. So we ourselves will become Krishna conscious. We'll go back, and Mahaprabhu wants that we take many more with us. That is Prabhupada's desire also. So how to form the next body? By in the current body, training our consciousness and mind by engaging in such activities, spiritual activities, which is so easy given by Prabhupada, fortunately, which others are not able to do it so easily. Yogis and jnanis are not able to do it. And their path is risky, not safe. On the other hand, by Prabhupada's mercy, it has been made very easy for us. And that too, when practically we engage in the service of Krishna, it becomes even more easy. And practical services of Krishna leads us to guaranteed, assured Krishna consciousness at the time of death. And that we go back, even if we go back, that will be fulfillment of Prabhupada's desire, because Prabhupada wants so many devotees to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada, with his grace, Borijana Prabhu was in Japan, and Prabhupada was invited for a talk in a hotel. So before the talk starts, Prabhupada was sitting in the hall, in the chair. He was not on the stage, he was on the chair with all the people. And there was a table also. On the table there was a flag, national flag, small flag. And it had a stick, wooden stick, on the top there was a flag. So Prabhupada was playing around with that flag. Prabhupada was childlike simple. We hear, not childish, but childlike, innocence and simplicity. Vaishnava is Saralata is Vaishnavata. The simplicity is Vaishnavism. So Prabhupada was playing like a small child. And then while playing, the stick broke, the flag broke. Prabhupada looked at His Grace Bhurijana Prabhu and said that just see, this is how the material world is. It is very temporary and can collapse any time. It's miserable and gives pain. But my desire is to send every living entity back to Godhead. And he says, please assist me in this desire, fulfilling this desire. So we read this in My Glorious Master, a book by His Grace Bhurijana Prabhu. So that is how, if we adhere to the instructions of Acharya, then we try our best, even if we are not able to do perfectly, Krishna will help us make arrangement. And because of Sambandha Kripa, if we are just connected to Krishna, then we will be taken back to Godhead. Just like when Kaliya was defeated, Kaliya's wives made so many prayers. Kaliya also tried making prayers, but he was not sound condition of mental state. So he was just paraphrasing the prayers offered by his wives. And because his wives were devotees of Krishna, resultantly Krishna accepted prayers of Kaliya because he's in connection, Sambandha. So similarly, when we are also in the Sambandha of an Acharya, Yuga Acharya like Srila Prabhupada, our service is also maybe very meager or small, but will be accepted by Krishna, Sambandha Kripa. And because of that, we will also go back to Godhead. And we, not only that, we will be able to take many, many with us. Just like I heard from His Dinabandhu Prabhu, that just like Krishna was tied with that ukhal, and when Krishna pulled the ukhal, grinding motor, he uprooted those two trees, Yamala Arjuna, and they were liberated. And they got their body. They were liberated from the tree body. So similarly, though we may not be very powerful, we might be ukhal. Ukhal means khal, means cunning. We may be like that, but if we are in connection to Krishna or his devotees, Krishna and his devotees will use us as an instrument to liberate people, just like this ukhal could liberate in contact, the trees in contact. So let us try our best and become Krishna conscious ourselves strongly, and then assist Prabhupada in whatever way we can. Thank you so much. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki.